Hi, Andrew. I'm just going to get straight into it, but to give you a bit of an idea about what this is about, um, it's about trying to help us to make sense of what's going on with all the things we're hearing these days. All right, just going to read a little bit from this book called The Thinker's Guide to Fallacies: The Art of Mental Trickery and Manipulation by Dr. Richard Paul and Dr. Linda Elder from the Foundation of Critical Thinking. Truth and Deception in the Human Mind. The human mind is a marvelous set of structures and systems. It is a center of consciousness and action. It forms a unique identity. It creates a view of the world. Rich experiences emerge from its interactions with the world. It thinks, it feels, it wants. It apprehends truths and suppresses errors. It achieves insights and fabricates prejudices. Both useful truths and harmful misconceptions are its intermixed products. It can as easily believe what is false as what is true. It can see beauty in right conduct and justify what is flagrantly unethical. It can love and hate. It can be kind and cruel. It can advance knowledge or error. It can be intellectually humble or intellectually arrogant. So it's quite interesting. I would keep going, but I want to just, how shall I put this? So there's this little card here, mental antivirus card, and it says on it, dismiss the arbitrary, remove contradictions, and achieve more certainty. 10 top fallacies here are against the man, ad hominem, appeal to authority, etc. So I'll just go through them. Against the man, ad hominem, is when somebody's attacking the speaker instead of his argument. So you'll notice that it's directed against the person's ego or them rather than what they're saying. Appeal to authority, or it's called in Latin ad verecundiam, basing an argument on an irrelevant, vague, or dubious authority. So this is when you go on, you accept things off an authority based on their title or their position and not actually what they're saying and what makes sense there. Next one, appeal to emotion, persuading by emotion rather than reason. Well, emotion is going to affect the way they behave and their perceptions and their words, and if somebody's triggered and they're angry or frustrated, maybe they're just tired, all kinds of things might play into affecting somebody and how they're going to respond. And clever people can use emotional elicitation in the persuasion process, appealing to different emotions like pity, feeling sorry for you, or faking desperation or something. It can happen. I'm not saying that somebody who's trying to persuade you is doing that, but just saying it can happen. Next one, appeal to force, in Latin ad baculum, persuading by coercion or threat. So, that's basically the way government and authorities that's the buck stops there. They'll appeal to force or violence, persuading by coercion or threat. You'll get punished or something will happen to you if you don't do what we say. So it's not really a good way to do things. Appeal to pity, ad misericordiam. It must be true because boo hoo hoo. This all sucks, and must be this and that. I guess I'm not that familiar with that one, but yeah. Appeal to the masses, ad populum. It must be true because it's popular. Okay, just because 80% or whatever of the population thought the vaccine, which is now not working very well, was a good thing, just proves it wasn't such a, just because millions of people believe it was true, what they got sold doesn't mean it actually is true. Appeal to ridicule. It must be true because ha ha ha. It just means when people just basically laugh it off, and it ridiculing you, it's not really a good clear, you know what I mean. Appeal to tradition. It must be true because we've always done it that way. Of course, sometimes it might be true that the older ways are better. In fact, some of the best old ways probably are still better. Composition. What's true for the individual part of a whole is true for the entire whole form. Yeah, well, you get that with the vaccine's good for everyone. Never mind that we're all different, and we've all got different risks and vulnerabilities, and we're all different. Just paint everyone with the same brush. Well, yeah. Division. What's true for the entire whole form is true for each of its individual parts. Similar. False alternative. Offering only two options while omitting other relevant viable options. Well, you've got this, the vaccine's the only answer. You either take it or you don't. Not realizing that you can get vitamin D, vitamin C, exercise. There's all kinds of things you can do that helps your immune system. It's not just the vaccine's the only thing. And there's also other drugs and things that are known to give some improvements in your immunity. So it's like, why are we just doing the one, putting all our hopes in the vaccine when there's really a lot of other interventions to help your immune system before you get the infection? If you get the infection, there's stuff you can take in that's not the vaccine, but it helps. Anyway, just an example there. False cause, called post hoc. Establishing a causal relationship from correlation or timing without sufficient proof. And this is it. What I was going to say here was what you'll find with a lot of the talk and the rhetoric and the messaging from the media and all kinds of people making opinions is they will often leave something out of what they're saying. If you can read between the lines and ask, what are they not saying? What are they not talking about? So this will move me on to this old book, which is the introduction to the syntopical guide to the gateway to the great books. So you heard of those great books of the Western world. They're big volumes of some of the greatest minds of the Western world, yada yada. Well, they did a set which was gives you shorter books or writings of great people, and they've got a little reading guide in the front to help you with how you can learn more from when you read these gateway to the great books. So they're great books, but they're just not as big, not as long. So there's got some questions here when you're reading. One question, there's 4 of them here. What is you're supposed to ask yourself? What is this piece of writing about? What is its leading theme or main point? What is it trying to say? So when you're listening to the news and the media, if you can just try to, what's it about? What's the point here? What's the leading theme? What's it trying to say? And also it's interesting what they're not saying. As I was saying, so how does it say what it's trying to say? How does the writer get a central point across? How well does he tell his story or argue for his conclusion to produce the effect in us that he is aiming at? Well, you get this again, this mass propaganda. They don't want people to do this. They don't want people to ask these questions, because then you'll notice the gaps in the story. You'll read between the lines and why aren't they giving all the alternatives to help your immunity instead of just focusing on the one vaccine? Okay, they're taking this point of view, but why didn't they talk about that point of view? So it's interesting. 3. Is it true, factually or poetically, in whole or part? Has the writer won our assent or sympathy? And if not, what reasons do we have for disagreeing with or rejecting his view of things? And again, if you started asking these questions every time you were listening to people and hearing the news, you're going to find it full of this kind of just things that are going to make you realize it's not actually the way it's being told you. You're not being told the whole truth on these matters. Anyway, for what of it? What meaning does it have for us in the shape of opinions or attitudes that we are led to form for ourselves as a result of reading this piece or hearing the news or just hearing blanket announcements or law changes or whatever it is? So I'll go back here to where I started about the human mind, truth and deception in the human mind. It can be empathetic or narrow-minded. It can be open or closed. It can achieve a permanent state of expanding knowledge or a deadening state of narrowing ignorance. It both transcends the creatures of lesser ability and insults their innocence and nobility by its self-deception and cruelty. How can humans create within their own minds such an inconsistent amalgam of the rational and the irrational? The answer is self-deception. I mean, you're going to hear, like the title here, gobbledygook. You're going to hear a whole lot of noddy. You're going to hear a whole lot of fiddlesticks. Even from incredibly smart people who are sophisticated, top of their field in the world, they're just going to say a lot of stuff that you listen to it, it's got a lot of holes in it. And that's what I'm trying to make people aware of by this video. Anyway, self-deception. In fact, perhaps the most accurate and useful definition of humans is that of the self-deceiving animal. Deception, duplicity, sophistry, delusion, and hypocrisy are foundational products of human nature in its natural, untutored state. And this is talking about the human mind. Rather than reducing these tendencies, most schooling and social influences redirect them, rendering them more sophisticated, more artful, and more obscure. To exacerbate this problem, not only are humans instinctively self-deceptive, they are naturally socio-centric as well. That means we're very influenced by the TV, by the people around us, the culture as well. Every culture and society sees itself as special and is justified in all of its basic beliefs and practices, and all its values and taboos. The arbitrary nature of its folkways is known to its anthropologists, if it has any, but not to its overwhelming majority. Uncritical persons, intellectual, unskilled thinkers. The overwhelming preponderance of people have not freely decided what to believe, but rather have been socially conditioned, indoctrinated into their beliefs. They are unreflective thinkers. Their minds are products of social and personal forces they neither understand, control, nor concern themselves with. Their personal beliefs are often based on prejudices. Their thinking is largely comprised of stereotypes, caricatures, oversimplifications, sweeping generalizations, illusions, delusions, rationalizations, false dilemmas, and begging questions. Their motivations are often traceable to irrational fears and attachments, personal vanity and envy, intellectual arrogance, and simple-mindedness. These constructs have become a part of their identity. Such persons are focused on what immediately affects them. They see the world through ethnocentric and nationalistic eyes. They stereotype people from other cultures. When their beliefs are questioned, however unjustified those beliefs may be, they feel personally attacked. When they feel threatened, they typically revert to infantile thinking and emotional counterattacks. When their prejudices are questioned, they often feel offended and stereotype the questioner as intolerant and prejudiced, judgmental even. They rely on sweeping generalizations to support their beliefs. They resent being corrected, disagreed with, or criticized. They want to be reinforced, flattered, and made to feel important. They want to be presented with a simple-minded black and white world. They have little or no understanding of nuances, fine distinctions, or subtle points. They want to be told who is evil and who is good. They see themselves as good. They see their enemies as evil. They want all problems to admit to a simple solution, and the solution to be one they are familiar with. For example, punishing those who are evil by use of force and violence. Visual images are much more powerful in their minds than abstract language. They are overly impressed by authority, power, and celebrity. They are eminently ready to be directed and controlled. Ooh, they are eminently ready to be directed and controlled. Oh, these days, oh yeah. As long as those doing the controlling flatter them and lead them to believe that their views are correct and insightful. The mass media are structured to appeal to such persons. Subtle and complex issues are reduced to simplistic formulas. Get tough on crime, get vaccinated, 3 strikes and you're out. Adult crime, adult time, you're either for us or against us. Spin is everything. Substance is irrelevant. Skilled manipulators, weak sense critical thinkers. There is a much smaller group of people who are skilled in the art of manipulation and control. These people are shrewdly focused on pursuing their own interest without respect to how the pursuit affects others. Though they share many of the characteristics of uncritical thinkers, they have qualities that separate them from the uncritical persons. They have greater command of rhetoric and of persuasion. They are more sophisticated, more verbal, and generally have greater status. On average, they have more schooling and achieve more success than uncritical persons. They typically acquire more power and occupy positions of authority. They are accustomed to playing the dominant role in relationships. They know how to use the established structure of power to advance their interests. Since they are fundamentally concerned not with advancing rational values, but with getting what they want, they are careful to present themselves as sharing the values of those they manipulate. Hello, what a beautiful day. Oh, you've got a lovely place here, whatever. Certain time. Man, it's just horrible. Skilled manipulators are really insightful dissenters, rebels, or critics of society. The reason is simple. They cannot effectively manipulate members of a mass audience if they appear to that mass audience to be invalidating their beliefs. They're good at chronology. Manipulators do not use their intelligence for the public good. Rather, they use it to get what they want in alliance with those who share their vested interests. Manipulation, domination, demagoguery, and control are their tools. Persons skilled in manipulation want to influence the beliefs and behavior of others, and they have insight into what makes people vulnerable to manipulation. They know how you take. As a result, they strive to appear before others in a way that associates themselves with power and authority and conventional morality. They want to get your trust. The impetus is evident, for example, when politicians appear before mass audiences with well-polished but intellectually empty speeches. There are a number of alternative labels for the roles that manipulators play, including the spin master, the con artist. Con artists, They got degrees in chronology. The sophist can have a great conversation with you, but the way he's putting it out there, if you go through some of this stuff, you'll read between the lines what they didn't say. You'll find a lot of holes in it. The propagandist, the indoctrinator, the demagogue are often the politician. Their goal is always to control what others think and do by controlling the way information is presented to them. They use rational means only when such means can be used to create the appearance of objectivity and reasonability. The key is that they are always trying to keep some information and some points of view from being given a fair hearing, like I'm saying before, what they're not saying. So yeah, just almost to an end here. You can kind of see by the way things, when they make claims that are kind of not, there's relevance issues, there's ambiguity issues, and they may be misdirecting you. They have a lot of presumption and assumption. That's false or intentionally. And yeah, so there's some ideas there. I hope you get something out of that. I mean, there's some more here. So from the mental antivirus card, from Trivium Education and Tragedy and Hope, tools, get more tools for intellectual self-defense. There's other kinds of fallacies. The straw man, which is refuting an argument by attacking a weaker version of it. Slippery slope, asserting without sufficient proof a chain of events. Selective evidence, selectively omitting pertinent evidence. Red herring, diverting an argument by changing the topic. Middle ground, the extremes are wrong, but the mean is correct. Hasty generalization, generalizing from an unrepresentative sample. Yeah, so there's just some top fallacies. And basically, all of this is poor thinking. It's blundering. You know that term in chess? Well, if you look that term up, blundering, yeah, it's what it is. And, so if we can improve our thinking and understand the elements of our thinking and understand our values and standards of thinking, understand points of view, what the problem is, the information, the ideas, and all the things that you're thinking about, and just think about your thinking, implications, consequences, all kinds of things, and try and be humble about it. Have intellectual virtues where you're humble about it, that you're not perfect, you get things wrong, and sometimes you get corrected, all this kind of thing. And bring this kind of thing into when you're listening to media. If you're listening to the radio or television, unfortunately, you're going to find that this world has got a lot of baloney going around in the words and the language. It's terrible. You will find this stuff. You'll find it within the media. You'll find it in your relationships. You'll find it in yourself. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. So hopefully we can improve our critical thinking, understand, so that we can think clearer and have more truth in our life and speak truth. You don't parrot stuff, don't just pass it on, but try to make sure it's true before you just pass on something you hear in the media. Otherwise you're just doing cynicism, which is just, you hear something in the news and you just, without thinking about it, you communicate to the next person. That's called parrotism or cynicism. Anyway, I'll let you go. I just felt like I needed to share that. See you guys and girls. Thank you for listening.